Thanks for joining us today. It's really hard to believe that Project Feed the Thousands, the region's largest annual food drive, has now in its 29th year. And to tell us where we've been, where we are, and where we're going, three of the people involved with setting this year's campaign up. To my immediate left is Josh Roberts, who's been reaching out to businesses all over the region. George Haynes, one of the co-founders of Project Feed the Thousands, and Wyndham Southeast Superintendent Mark Speno, who takes time out from an incredibly busy job to volunteer on this food drive. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks for having us.
Where did all this begin, George? I know that you and I have a particularly long history, but maybe just for purposes of explanation, how did this all get going?
Well, this goes back 29 years ago when I was at the Brattleboro Savings and Loan, president of the Brattleboro Savings and Loan, and Larry Smith was with WTSA. And I'd asked Larry, is there some event that we could get together on to benefit the community? And Larry came up with the idea of maybe we ought to have a food drive. And I said, what was that all about? And then he explained that there was a need. Took me to the drop-in center, and sure enough, there were people there that you wouldn't expect to be there at the drop-in center. They weren't homeless people, they were young mothers, they were elderly people. And so we started with a food drive, and we named it Project Feed the Thousand, because at that time it was 1,000 people in our area that were hungry or at risk. And we had a 2-week food drive and asked them to bring food to the bank, and that probably wasn't the brightest idea in the world, because it would be easier, as we later learned, to have people, when they bought food, to be able to drop it at the supermarkets. Anyway, if you fast forward, it wasn't long thereafter that Project Feed the Thousand became Project Feed the Thousands, because the increased so dramatically. And then also the increase occurred not only because of the need, but because other people got involved. Schools got involved, businesses got involved, and to where we are today, which is Project Feed the Thousands, 29th campaign, serving 9 food shelves, and trying to raise $100,000 and 300,000 meals.
But the whole concept of stone soup, making sure everybody brings something to the table, really works.
Yes, it does, because that's one of the interesting aspects of Project Feed the Thousands, I think, is it is about raising food and money and feeding people in need, but it also brings everybody together from young age all the way through. As I said, schools, businesses, individuals, everybody can have a part. It can be just, one non-perishable food item, but if you do that, or just even loose change, it all adds up. So it's all about a whole community effort.
So in year 29, who are you serving in terms of food shelves, and what are this year's goals?
Okay. Well, the food shelves, there are 9 of them. There's 3 in Brattleboro. The Food Works, Bridges Kitchen, Loaves and Fishes. Then we have Vernon, Guilford, Hinsdale, Putney, and Townsend. So all those, and Bellows Falls, all those communities are being served. Our goal, as I said earlier, is $100,000 in cash, 300,000 meals. That's quite a goal.
Now, it may seem like an enormous goal, but I believe the goal was surpassed this last year, even in the midst of a pandemic?
Yes, it was. We did surpass the goal. The interesting thing about this year, I think, is that the need is greater, but I think the effect on the economy has made it that perhaps some people that have donated in the past aren't able to donate this year. So it's almost like a two-edged sword. We're really behind this year at this point in time. In our goal, we probably raised about only $40,000 so far out of the 100,000. We're not where we should be.
And of course, the best way to do that is to donate. And again, I'll repeat this email address, projectfeedthethousands.org, and you can also make a contribution in care of Project Feed at 802 Credit Union here in Brattleboro. Mark Speno, you are one of the people who've been involved with the school effort over the years. You got involved when you were principal at Vernon Elementary a few years back, and it's continued to grow. How come?
We started that work.
Time flies when you're having
Yeah,
fun.
And I became kind of a point person for the school district with Project Feed. And just, it's a really powerful message that we're all a part of our community and we can all make a difference no matter what age you are. And students have made an incredible impact on Project Feed over the years.
We're hoping that students also continue to make an impact on Project Feed and on the overall cause of poverty and hunger after they get into the workforce.
Absolutely. It's a great message. Student leadership teams have been hard at work on Project Feed, and they've been including all of the student body at each of the individual schools. So the Fill the Bus event is a really great event that was formed about 15 years ago, and seeing students and kids in action serving their community is a really inspiring thing.
Now explain the Fill the Bus event. You actually have students come and fill a bus with food?
We do. We have a large school bus on campus at the Hannaford's grocery store, and throughout the day we'll have students from each of our schools participating, working with the community to fill that bus with donations. And typically every year we fill the bus right up.
That's just an incredible concept, and it gets kicked off in the schools after the Thanksgiving break, and it just continues to build?
It does, yeah. Around Thanksgiving time is when the work starts formally. There's work done behind the scenes before then, but then students start messaging. We'll have some students on the local radio station talking about work that they're doing as part of the campaign. And schools have also reached out to other local places in the community to set up drop boxes that they've managed. So it's really gone from, bringing a non-perishable item to your school to more of a networked kind of a theme for students and school leadership.
I've actually heard some schools work this into their curriculum, going out and showing what $20 in food will buy and trying to figure that into a budget.
Absolutely. We've also done visits to the food bank and various food shelves for educational purposes, and this is how community supports its people.
And so are all the schools within the Project Feed area involved this year?
To some extent, yes. Every school. Yep.
Goodness, it's quite a lot of work.
Yeah. It's become kind of a formal thing that we do as part of the school district. And I'm proud to say that.
I'm just curious, during the pandemic couple of years, how did you work that in when you didn't know whether you'd be in school on a given day?
A lot of creative thinking, a lot of communication, embracing different ideas. But again, proud to say that even through those pandemic years where we had closures, the school district was involved with Project Feed.
Fantastic. Josh Roberts, you are the point person for the business community, and I'll ask you that same question. This has been a couple of tough years for businesses to keep the doors open, and yet they've continued to contribute to Project Feed and done some creative things like the Everyone Eats program. How is it possible?
Absolutely, and it's been a challenging couple years for many businesses, but we ask to support and be a part of Project Feed in any capacity you can, whether it's donating services, donating time, donating ad space. It's just, we're all here in our community together being faced with the same challenge, and any business that can support through a roundup of at the cash registers or ad time, whatever it is, we can find a way, George can find a way to make sure that we can utilize those services to support our goal.
Being out there in the business world and being in local government myself, you don't know what's coming down the pike, whether it be employment on a given day for a business to even keep their doors open. Has that perhaps brought on an additional level of giving in this year?
I do. I really think it has brought in more giving, is that we've seen our neighbors and friends, community members going through different challenges in these last couple of years. And it's just a good reminder, that we're all in this together as the community to come together for Project Feed. And as George already mentioned, that we have more people this year and our need continues to grow. And in any capacity you can support, whether it's food donations, cash donations, or something within your business that you can give back through the employees or the employer themselves.
Now, do some businesses use incentives to get their employees to take part?
Absolutely. We have some that if you do a donation, you can do a jeans day or working towards maybe doing some volunteer time off. A lot of our local businesses really get creative this time of year.
That's good to know. I mean, obviously, this is probably the busiest time of the year for the mercantile community, and other segments of our business population may not be as busy at this time of year, but they all take part.
They do, and I just have to make sure that we give credit to quite a few businesses that have gone above and beyond. And I just have to mention there's been over 100 businesses within our community that are involved in some capacity. And a lot of this, we got to give some thanks to 802 Credit Union for the underwriting and the partnership that they've been able to create for us over the last number of years. And then also businesses like WTSA, WKVT that donate ad time. Against the Grain is donating 50% of some of their food sales as well. And not only do we have the fill the bus, but we have the fill the ambulance as well.
That's just an incredible amount of effort. It boggles the mind when you look at these goals on a yearly basis to wonder whether you're going to reach them. What we do, it really says something nice about our community.
Sure does.
Absolutely.
I think it is an opportunity that exists that may not exist in other charitable avenues, in the sense that, we mentioned this before, any age, the entire community is involved. Businesses, as Josh said, schools, as Mark said, anybody can participate. There is no certain group or a certain segment of people that we say, oh, we have to target them. Everybody can have a part. And it really gets back to some really old-fashioned values of neighbors helping neighbors, caring, being generous, taking care of each other.
It's amazing. People get involved with this annual campaign and they never leave. I mean, George, you have passed retirement age, but you keep on going. What makes it so special for you?
Well, I think there's several things. One, the need is always there. I said when I retired 15 years ago that I would not retire from Project Feed the Thousands, and I haven't. But I think it's just, it's an organization where every dollar that's raised goes to help somebody. We have no overhead. Everything is volunteer. I just think it's a wonderful opportunity to serve.
Well, gentlemen, thank you all for your efforts. We are talking about Project Feed the Thousands, year number 29, and we'll continue with our discussion in just a moment. And as we continue with our Project Feed the Thousands discussion, we have three more important members of our committee, our community. John Sciacca, who's sitting to my immediate left, is the co-chair of Project Feed. John is the general manager at Brattleboro Subaru. Celina Ayers is with 802 Credit Union. They do a lot of work in crunching the numbers and do things that I can only dream about. And Jon Megas Russell is with Grateful Greens and helps coordinate the donations for area grocery stores. So thank you all for coming in. I guess I'd start off with John, you as Project Feed co-chair. Why is it an important cause for you to be a part of and to make a donation to, from your experience?
Well, I got involved with Project Feed many, many years ago through Brattleboro Subaru, but we really became heavily involved in 2015 when George Haynes and Kelly Corbeil came to us and asked us to be a corporate sponsor because Vermont Yankee, as you know, was closing and you guys were losing a lot of funding, and we made them our Share the Love recipient that year. And that's the year I really got to learn what we were donating for. And George and Kelly explained all the needs and challenges we have in this area. And those needs and challenges have really expanded, especially post-COVID. we had a meeting with 8 of the 9 local food shelters and talked about what they needed and their challenges. And I'm not going to go into it, but it's unbelievable, this area, how much there is a need for food, and they need money to buy specific foods that aren't being donated. And after that meeting, you know, it really made me realize how much Project Feed does to help the people in this area. It's a great cause.
And really, we have tried to put out the message throughout the entire 29 years of Project Feed that there's no shame in needing for help, because there are a lot of people who need it, who feel they shouldn't ask for it, but they really should.
Absolutely. You know, people that 5 years ago were donating money and food, some of those people today are people that need help. The cost of living has gone up, the cost of fuel, everything, and there's nothing to be ashamed of to ask for help, and there's a lot of good people in this area that do help.
So we're going to talk more about how you can help, how people in the business community, how people in the greater community at large can help. But let's talk about donations for a little bit. One of the places you can make a contribution is to drop where you shop. Jon Megas Russell, glad to see that you are still heavily involved with that effort. Where can people make a food donation, or how can they help coordinate that?
A lot of area grocery stores, Market 32, Hannaford's, the Brattleboro Food Co-op, among other spots. This month, I believe, in places like Brown and Roberts are doing roundup programs. But pretty much anywhere, if you live up in Bellows Falls, Lee Size, Putney Food Co-op. So trying to gather all of the different places in our region that need food. And even thinking of Walmart, you can go in and purchase a box of food there, and they'll donate that to Groundworks and to Project Feed.
And how are the grocers and stores cooperative with this effort? Because after all, they have this as their heaviest time of the year anyway, and this could be even a lot more work for them.
I think that people prioritize giving back to the community, and if you do that, then it's going to come back around to a grocery store. For me, just trying to drive around and get them to put a bin out and support them and understand that the need is big was huge. And I think during this time of year, everybody needs a warm meal. And so for grocery stores and corporate entities to know that and they can help out, it's awesome.
Now, your current employer, Grateful Greens, they actually make an ongoing donation?
Yeah, we've been donating about 10 pounds of microgreens each week to FoodWorks, as well as Loaves and Fishes, and even as far over to places in Albany. So that's something we do with surplus, and that's helpful for people that need salad greens.
Now, you're able to get salad greens locally year-round?
Yeah, we have an indoor farm that we grow under lights, in soil, organic, so it's a pretty cool concept, and we feel very fortunate to be able to service a lot of restaurants and grocery stores, but to give away 10 or 20 pounds a week to people in need has been really eye-opening for me.
And how important is not just getting food, but getting nutritious food, things that really can help improve your health?
Yeah, in the past, I didn't realize that they just don't want mac and cheese and rice and beans and things like that. Trying to get healthy items, trying to get fresh things delivered. So for me, it's prioritizing healthy things and trying to get people organic when you can, and if not, just things like salsa or really nice frozen foods and things like that.
Yeah, I have seen a big proliferation of people growing their own vegetables in the past couple of years, and they certainly have stepped up during the pandemic, and now they have decided to continue on with that process. Been great to see. What advice would you give to somebody who might be thinking about doing that themselves?
For growing on their own? Yeah, I think during the pandemic, we grew a lot more food in my own home, and just being able to plant garlic in the spring or grow things in the summer. If you have excess, bring it to your local food bank. I know a lot of people, zucchinis, cucumbers were huge for me this year, and we brought some down ourselves. So I think if you have a little space at home and you may not have the money to buy something at the store, it's a great option. Any way you can support people who need food.
I would tell you that my space at home seems to have been overrun by some of the little woodland animals, so trying to make sure we get what we grow has been a tough struggle, but I'm glad people are doing more.
Sure thing.
Now, Celina, I have to admit, the continued effort by 802 Credit Union has been superb, especially with all of the craziness out there in the banking and credit union community in Vermont, what are some of the things that your organization is responsible for?
Sure. So 802 Credit Union, we handle all of the administrative work for Project Feed the Thousands. We receive all their donations and process those, and all of the money that comes into Project Feed goes to the food banks. 802 handles all the administrative fees, so it is 100% donations go to those food shelves.
Now, which branches can you make a donation at?
So you can make donations at any of our branches. We do have 4 of our branches in the Project Feed area. So Brattleboro, Bellas Falls, Putney, and Townsend all have food bins, and any of our branches can accept donations.
And of course, because all of the work to administer all this is done by your staff, how quickly do the food shelves get these resources once they come in?
So all of the donations are handled on a weekly basis, and then at the end of our campaign, we disperse the funds to the food shelves.
So people aren't caught short, no matter when.
Right.
It's a lot of work.
Yes, but it's definitely a rewarding program that we're very dedicated to be part of.
So we're roughly a month into this year's Project Feed campaign. How are we doing?
I'm going to defer to Celina. I think we're doing great, but she could give us an update on funds and maybe food.
Sure. So this year we have a goal of $100,000 in cash donations and $300,000 in meals. We are working through our campaign. We have raised about just $40,000. So it seems like they're coming in a little slower than normal, but we definitely want to ramp that up.
It seems like people are taking their time and getting into the holiday shopping mode this year,
Yes.
but I think that'll pick up a lot in these next few weeks. So this craziness in the economy, John and also John, the 2 Johns we have here, just realize that. Are you seeing the struggles that are out there in general in your own businesses?
Absolutely. There's not only a struggle with people needing to afford food, but they're struggling to afford everything. In my business, we look at applications all the time, and housing is so expensive, fuel is so expensive, and when they come in to buy a car, with interest rates where they are, payments are more than they were. So it's a tough time for individuals and families to be trying to make ends meet. And Project Feed is something that really helps those families. So, they might have to choose between buying food or paying for fuel oil or putting gas in their vehicles. So, we're struggling right now as a community, and we need the help of everybody.
And I've also noticed it's real tough sometimes to have enough people on your staff to be able to get the job done.
Absolutely. Hiring is the toughest thing right now. Project Feed is lucky. They have, a plethora of volunteers that give their time. I'm going to thank people in the end, but the volunteer network of Project Feed is unbelievable. Nobody makes any money. 100% of the money and the food get into people's hands that need it, which is fantastic.
One of the secrets of Project Feed the Thousands that people should know is nobody in their right mind says no to Kelly Corbill.
Yes, yes. When she asked me to do co-chair, she knew the answer was yes before I said it.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah.
A lot of people thank with this effort. And just another example of the craziness of the economy, I think the last time I was into your service department, the service manager was only half joking when he said he was going to get me an application.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not going to solicit, but if anybody's looking for a job.
You know, this is what we're all facing with. Things have been shaken up past couple of years, and among them, people's budgets. So Project Feed is more important than ever. And of course, there are a lot of people that we can thank for their
Sure.
efforts, John.
There are a ton. The volunteers, and I'm gonna go through a bunch of them, and if I miss you, please don't be offended. There's a ton of volunteers that I'd like to say thank you to, that you do a lot of behind-the-scenes grunt work, picking up, delivering, all those kind of things. I want to thank the board of directors. I'm new to that board, and that's not a board that just gathers around and sits and talks. That board is out there, you know, soliciting new places to put bins. They're working on websites. They're picking up and delivering. I mean, it's a board that's heavily involved, and I'd like to thank everybody on the board. The food bank, the Brattleboro Food Bank, and Chris, those people are great. They store all the food, and I thought they just store it, but they sort it all. They look at it to see what's expired. They categorize it, so it's not just dropping it off and it sits there and it finds its way out. So they're doing a ton of work. The Brattleboro and Hinsdale Fire Department, they do a boot drive every year, and they raise a ton of money for Project Feed, and I'd like to say thank you to them. I'm going to say thank you to Celina, and I was going to say River Valley, but 802 Credit Union. Without them, Project Feed would be nowhere near what they are. Her and that staff volunteer so much time. She didn't say this, we have our meetings there. They supply lunch. They are fantastic. You know, there's so many people I could go on and on thanking, but basically this community is a fantastic community for helping each other. I've been involved with a lot of other things, and it's wonderful how we step up and help those in need in this community.
It really is. Glad to be a part of this for the entire run of Project Feed the Thousands. Again, if you'd like to make a donation, go online, projectfeedthethousands.org, or drop where you shop a grocery donation, or send a contribution to Project Feed in care of 802 Credit Union in Brattleboro, or any of the 802 branches within the Project Feed area. Thank you, Jon Megas Russell. Thank you, Celina Ayers. Thank you, John Sciacca. And moreover, thank you to everybody in the community for being a part of the solution. Project Feed the Thousands. This is Tim Johnson. Thanks for watching.